A few minutes. So, if you're just joining us, we heard a little news clip this morning about Donald Trump reversing his thoughts on whether or not he would go to the FBI with information about a foreign entity approaching him with dirt on an opponent. And we'll just fast forward through a lot of BS. We are now on World War II, Hitler's attempted takeover of the planet, basically, but of Europe, and the reasons for that. And then we'll get back to our essay on on Donald Trump. Okay, so
You have to write an essay at the end of this?
no, it's an oral essay. So, son Maddox, you were telling me that about what you know about Hitler and what he did. What was it? What did he do? He
Killed everyone with health disabilities and natural body disabilities and stuff like that. And then if blue eyes, he for some reason blue eyes, blonde hair, and something like that. Even though he had none of those attributes,
Right.
obviously had a health disability.
obviously, well, mental defects of some sort,
Still.
if nothing else. But so I was commending you on your use of the word attributes. I like that very much. It's really good stuff. And what you're saying is essentially true. I don't know that he initially set out to rid the world of certain people and to make the Aryan race a thing, but he certainly used it as a tool at some point. Started. I think my understanding is perhaps he recognized the power behind getting people to hate other people. So if you have a group of people, if you want power, and you can convince a group of people that a different group of people is a bad group of people and that they should all be exterminated and they're out to get you and they want to steal your stuff and whatever else. What are you doing?
You're gonna be able to eat them.
Later, when snack time arrives.
Didn't he want to kill the Jewish people?
Yes, that's the Jews amongst other groups, but he was responsible for he and his people around him, and I'm not in any way trying to give Hitler a pass, but I think that what Hitler did is especially scary in that he saw what he wanted, which was absolute power over things, right? And just to be known as the guy who conquered the world or something. I don't know. I think that was his primary motivation, but he put these people around him who were extraordinarily bad people, and somehow or other, whether it was by his direction or not by his direction, I don't know for sure, but that group of people, Hitler being one of them, took it upon themselves to try and rid the world of Jewish people and, like you said, anyone with any sort of defect or disability or differently abled, I guess, people,
And he also did it he killed people by gas chamber.
Yeah, so let's just get off of Hitler. We'll just sum it up by saying he was an extraordinarily evil person who did really, really bad things, and he did them for power, and that's how we got on World War II, and why a foreign country might seek to influence an election in America, right? So the question sort of that started us down this path was, why would someone on the outside of our country take time to try and make one person our president over another person. It kind of doesn't make sense. Like, why would you care about who's president of our country? But if you're motivated by a power to be the dominant country in the world, which I just don't understand. But anyway, if that's your motivation, then you might seek to weaken your opponent by finding the president who you think is either the weakest of the leaders or the one who is going to be most sympathetic to you and your country and your attempted rise to power and all of that. So, I mean no offense to Russia, but America and Russia and China and other countries, like I said earlier, they're kind of locked in this battle to be dominant in the world. And make no mistakes about it, America, from the outside, might look quite imperialistic in a certain way. And I don't know if you know what the word imperialistic means, but it means that you're building an empire. So instead of just being satisfied with the country you want to build an empire. And America's imperialism has a little bit to do with trying to spread American democratic governance values around the world, but it also has a lot to do with securing our strategic interests around the world too. Like, we've fought wars in different places, and oftentimes if you look at the reasons behind those wars, you might say, well, it was to try and oust a particularly bad dictator or something like that, but at the same time we gained a strategic interest in the area, like a bunch of oil and stuff like that. So we won't go into depth on that, but we can accept that foreign countries might have an interest, if they're weird enough to have that interest, in bringing America down or putting a leader in who they think is going to help them. So during the election, what happened with our buddies at Trump's campaign?
They accepted
Dirt. As you
dirt.
said.
Yes, they decided that they would, when the foreign country being Russia, whom, by the way, Donald Trump had publicly asked, hey, if you're listening, Russia, please find me the dirt on Hillary Clinton. So he had he had exactly asked for it in public. Though he might say, I was just kidding about that, But
If we know all of this, why is Trump still president?
well,
Yeah,
because it is not as easy as one might think to bring about your own downfall or to bring down a president, especially if that president has done little or nothing that is illegal. But even if that president has done things that are highly questionable or illegal, it is still difficult in our country for us to take them out of office and put in a new president. And that's purposeful, because otherwise, we assume that we're not going to elect people who need to be taken out. Plus, we don't want every person elected to have to fight long battles with their political enemies that maybe drag us down as a nation. So the assumption kind of is that the people that we elect are representative of us as a nation and are capable of being president. And Donald Trump is the first in my lifetime, and maybe the only that will happen in my lifetime, where before he was elected, I would have highly questioned his capabilities to govern the country, and so did a lot of other people. But it's a democracy, so I'm not absolutely correct on everything I think, and he was elected, and I admitted that maybe I was wrong, and perhaps he would rise to the position and do a good job, which in my estimation he has not, right? And there's several things that he's done, very specific things that I point to, that I think, you can get away with a lot of things. I don't have to agree with your policies. I don't have to agree with your ideology, but we live by a certain moral code that I do think you have to sort of follow. And one of them is that he refused to openly say that neo-Nazis or new followers of what Hitler was trying to say, right? That a white nation is a good nation, things like that. Like, he didn't publicly say that that was a bad thing to do, and I think that was like on top of some other pretty egregious things, that was the final straw, and I just can't abide by that. But anyway, so the people in the Trump campaign decided that they would not inform the FBI of being approached by a foreign power that wanted to give them dirt. They decided that they would, in fact, pursue that dirt and see what it was and see if it couldn't help them, you know? And there's been a 2-year investigation into that, because it's really not good. And there's a bunch of people went to jail over it, and a bunch of people went to jail over different parts that they played in it all. But ultimately, it wasn't easy to determine whether or not Donald Trump had specifically been a part of that, and even wasn't easy to figure out like how far they'd gone or what had actually happened, because a lot of the information was hidden or private, and you know, how can you it's really hard to get at that information. But nonetheless, there is a lot of information out there that makes the Trump campaign and even Donald Trump himself look pretty bad. Like, you really shouldn't have done that. So, as I was telling you, on the news the other day, the reporter, doing what reporters are supposed to do, asked Donald Trump very specifically if someone from a foreign country came to you directly and asked you for if you wanted information on an opponent, would you report them to the FBI? And he said, and I watched this interview, he said, no, are you kidding? That's ridiculous. That's not what happens in real life. In real life, if someone comes to you and says, I can help you win, I'm going to take that information. I'm going to say, sure, I'd like that information. And I get what he's saying, that if you lack the integrity to win on your own without tearing the other person down, if you just can't do that, then you would do that little cheat, right, Maddox? What did you call it? Hack, yes. If you can't do it on your own, you would maybe try and take that hack and hack the system and try and win, right? And what most of us agree on is, no, you shouldn't do that. Like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. You should do what you know to be right? Or to be good. So anyway, Donald Trump on TV said, yeah, no, I'd take the information, you know, and I wouldn't call the FBI because I'd be a fool to. And then if
just like right on TV, just like
yeah, basically, I mean, you'd have to watch it for yourself. I'm paraphrasing, putting in my own words, but yeah, essentially that's what he said. And you know, basically, if I thought it was illegal, then maybe I'd call the FBI. But if it just seemed like someone was trying to give me good information on an opponent, I want that information, so I'll take it. And I don't even know that it's illegal. Well, it is illegal. You are not supposed to accept information from foreign countries that would help influence an election. That's just, it's a rule, and it's a good rule for a reason. It's not good for any of us, you know? And we know that foreign countries will try and influence elections sometimes, and we especially know that Russia will, because the Russians, we've been in this long battle with them, and I've not been to Russia, but Azerbaijan was formerly controlled by Russia, and so I've met some Russians. There were many Russians in Azerbaijan. I don't believe that it would be fair to say that like all Russians hate the United States or all people in the United States hate Russia. But this long battle that we've had of ideas and everything else has led to a point where many people in America think Russia is a terrible place, and many people in Russia think America is a terrible place, and you'll never convince them otherwise. Meanwhile, we're basically just living life. But I will say, the Americans, we play dirty tricks with them too. We try and trick them. We probably try and influence their elections as well. That's the nature of the beast when you're talking about foreign espionage and stuff. And espionage is just sort of a big word for spy, political gamesmanship. And the Russians, they are more open about it. They're like, yeah, we like messing with America, which it's not like I like that, but I kind of respect the fact that they are honest about the fact that they would just mess with America just for the sake of messing with America, because for whatever reason they don't like us, Maybe it's good reasons, maybe it's not, but they're like, yeah, I like poking that one, I like poking that one with a stick in the eye when it's sleeping. Like, oh, thanks, it's great. I don't like that. But anyway, so what the news was saying today was that now Donald Trump, after publicly saying, yeah, I would accept that information, he reversed course today and put out a statement saying, if someone from a foreign country came to me, I would not use that information. I would tell the FBI. And it's a little bit like when one of you kids gets in trouble for something and you don't really understand why what you did got you in trouble, but you're forced to admit that, or you're forced to say that you understand and that you won't do it again. But you're like let's say you go and steal a cookie from the kitchen and you get caught, and you're like, and me or your mom, it comes down really hard on you for that cookie stealing, and you're thinking like, geez, dudes, it's a cookie, like it's not the end of the world. I didn't hurt anyone, I just ate a cookie, and we might lecture you, and we when I say we, I think we all know that the lecturer is me, right?
I just remember you giving us a lecture about you kept on saying in well, not really saying, but you were trying to say in a cover-up way that I'm fine with you stealing a cookie. Then every time we said, because you wanted to get rid of the cookies, and so we kept on saying, well, so you just want us to steal a cookie? And then you're like, well, no, I can't really say that.
Right.
You just kept on making this.
So I was confusing you on the inside by saying, on the one hand, I'm trying to tell you to steal a cookie, kid, right? And on the other hand, when you ask me, but can I steal a cookie? Like, no, of course you can't steal a cookie. I could never tell you to steal a cookie. But yeah, steal a cookie, right? That kind of thing? Yeah. I can see how you would find similarity between how you might feel in that moment and what Donald Trump did. And do you understand what I'm saying? He got caught saying something really stupid and potentially, harmful to the country, and certainly not good, if not straight up illegal. But anyway,
Next day.
well, after
No, I totally didn't do it.
yeah, after his political allies, that's his friends, right, heard him say that, he said they probably came to him and said, "Listen, Donald, you can't say that. Like, that's not helping us. You've got to stop doing this stuff. You're not supposed to do it that way. So no, you can't. You have to tell everybody that you would go to the FBI, even though we know you probably wouldn't go to the FBI. But
We know you didn't.
it's like I can't tell you to not just steal the cookie, but I'm telling you to steal the cookie." They would say, like, we know you're not very likely at all to go to the FBI, but you can't say that stuff publicly because it's not good for us. So please tell everybody that you would go to the FBI. So he kind of came on TV and was like, "Yeah, so, you know, what I said the other day about the whole FBI thing, like, now, if someone came to us from a foreign country, I would for sure tell the FBI. Honest, I swear to God, I would." Yep.
Can we not cross my fingers
like-
behind my back?
I know, it's just like in the whole film, like that whole thing, he's just like, his hand behind his back, he's like,
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not
Maybe.
lying.
And so I heard that on the news this morning, and that's what sparked this 48-minute conversation we had or whatever.
it's only been 48 minutes?
I think it's been more like an hour and 20 or something like that.
21 on the video.
Yep. But we're shutting this off. So there you go. That's it. I just wanted to see, I just wanted to record a little bit of what a torturous truck ride with
You like doing this.
your
Shut up.
Well, do you like it? That's the question. I didn't say I was torturing myself.
I don't know.
It's okay.
Do you kind of go back and forth about whether this is a good thing or a bad thing that I talk the entire ride
Yeah,
and you guys
yeah.
listen? Yeah. But it does tend to make the trip go more quickly, I feel. Like kind of
You